Hello friends, and welcome to Ariel's Twilight Years, how to be a really old model. I'm at home this week, just ate a lovely toasted peanut butter sandwich, but here we are, and I'm here to talk about something I've wanted to talk about for ages. This is about the thing that I now spend most of my time doing as a model, and the thing that makes most of my income as a model, which is shooting privately commissioned custom videos for customers and reselling them on various platforms. Now, before COVID, that was something I was doing, but I was only doing it 1 week in 4. Whereas now I'm doing it more like 3 weeks in 4, and I make about 10 custom videos a week. They are priced between £75 and £250, which is like $125 through to about $400, depending on the length and the complexity of the video. And they have been an absolute lifesaver in terms of keeping me in business while I've not been able to go and work with other people, and also keeping loads of other models across the globe in business too. So what I wanted to talk about today is how to be my favourite custom customer. So I'm going to talk you through some do's and don'ts which will make you very welcome as a customer to me, and probably will also make you very welcome to other models. Obviously, different models have different things that they particularly like and don't like, so I'm not talking on behalf of everyone, I am talking mostly on behalf of myself, but I know from talking to other models and producers that there is some consensus with some of the points I'm making, that we all agree with them. So let us get started. Number 1, when you first make contact with me or any other custom video producer or model, tell me what you want. Specifically, tell me the length, the costume, the storyline, and maybe, if you know, tell me whether you need another performer or a camera operator. As a default, I shoot stuff myself, the way I'm doing now, on a static video camera on a tripod, and it's cheaper that way because I don't have to hire anyone. As soon as I need a moving camera, I need to pay someone to move that camera, and as soon as someone else appears in shot, I need to pay them as well. So tell me, just briefly, what you need. 1 paragraph is enough, and if you do that, I will be able to respond to you immediately with a price and a date that I can shoot. So potentially, this whole transaction can be done in 3 emails. Unfortunately, it very rarely happens that way because, of course, a lot of custom customers don't have a whole load of experience of this industry. They don't necessarily know what they need to send me first time. So what they quite often do is they initially write to me asking me if they can email me with a custom request. And I understand why, because I think it's quite scary doing it. But if you try to consider the number of customs a model might be shooting in any 1 week, I'm sure you'll be able to see why keeping the email exchange brief and to the point is better than sending a preliminary email asking if it's okay to send your custom idea, followed by part of the custom idea, followed by what the costume would be, followed by an updated version of the story. This is the sort of thing a lot of people do, and it's just amazing. When people have already thought through what they actually want before making contact, this whole process is done much faster. I've got a much better chance of doing a good job for you, and I've got a much better chance of fitting you in soon rather than having to go through several weeks of emails before we actually get to a shooting date. This is a related point. Try to put everything you want in your script rather than sending a string of emails with adjustments. People often do this, and I think I understand why. It's probably quite likely that a customer might contact me with their idea. Let's pretend it's me wearing ballet shoes and standing on tiptoe with no other clothes on. Let's say that's the idea. Quite often, I think, people send me the idea, then they start to think about that video, and they start thinking how great it would be if I also was doing something else, like using a vibrator. And then they perhaps think about it a bit more, fantasize about it a bit more, and realise, oh, it would be really nice if her hair was down. So every time they think about it a little more, they email me. So what I can end up with is the original storyline followed by a dozen emails, either changing or adding to the story. I understand why it happens, but the chances of me making a mistake when the information is in a lot of different places is quite high. So I always recommend thinking through in some depth what you want before sending your idea to a model, because the chances of you getting what you want are higher if all the information's in one place, but also because some of these additions that you might send later will have an impact on the price, and because we try to give you a price immediately so that you know what your budget is going to be, it can be quite frustrating to have to keep amending the price based on you suddenly adding another person into the storyline or adding a different location partway through, which will have an impact on how long the video takes to shoot. Now, something a lot of people do, and I totally again understand why, is that they will contact me and say they would like something a little bit similar to something they've seen before. So they might mention a previous video that I've made. They might say, that one where you were in ballet shoes on a pink carpet, can you do your hair like that? And I will very likely have absolutely no memory of that video because I shoot about 10 a week and I've got about 1,200 videos now that I've made. The chances of me remembering one that I maybe did 3 years ago is pretty much nil. So I would suggest, rather than mentioning previous videos or previous costumes you've seen me in, send me a picture of myself in that costume or send me a link to that video you want replicated. That is so helpful. I cannot overstate how useful this is, because a lot of the time I do still have the same clothes from 2 years ago, and if you send me a screenshot, I'll know exactly what I'm dealing with and I will be able to give you what you want. The chances of me getting it wrong if you ask for something that's a little bit like something I shot in the past without sending me a link to that video, the chances of me getting that wrong are, sadly, I'm ashamed to say, they're really, really high. One thing that people do quite often do, and if I'm not careful, it can make me feel really angry and put upon, is asking for pictures of the outfit or still pictures as a teaser for the video. The reason this can be so annoying is that a lot of the time spent shooting a video is spent getting into the costume, doing your hair, doing your makeup, all of this stuff. So the chances of me wanting to do that a few days before the shoot so I can send you pictures are very, very slim, because once I've got ready for the video, I might as well shoot the video. And the reason I've given you the 4th of July for the video to be shot is because before that I don't have any time, including not having any time to put on your whole costume that you want from me and shoot pictures of it. I understand that it's exciting waiting for a custom video to be delivered, and I understand why you would want to get pictures of the outfit specifically to make sure it's what you want to see. But I would say in these situations, rather than asking for pictures, send pictures. Send pictures you've seen of me in a costume, or send pictures of someone else that you've seen in the sort of clothes you're looking for. It's so much more helpful to do that than to demand extra labour from me for no extra money. I am happy to shoot stills, but I charge for them because quite a lot of people order still sets from me instead of video. And while I'm on this subject, it's worth mentioning that quite often, especially for some reason for bondage custom videos, people ask me, oh, can I just have some stills as well? And my reply is always, you can, but if you want stills, I'll have to hire someone else to be on set. The stills don't come for free because they don't come for free. My video operator can't take pictures while he's doing the camera work. They'll need to be taken by someone else because, especially for bondage, we cannot leave the model tied up for twice the amount of time for the same amount of money to get you a video and then stills. So avoiding asking for what will basically amount to extra work for no more money, if you can avoid doing that, you're probably going to keep our relationship much more positive. I have some custom customers who I absolutely love hearing from, and while I was preparing to make this video, I started trying to analyse why some of them spark such joy when I see their email. And the reason is that some custom customers are capable of entering into the process of ordering a custom video as though they were a collaborator, as though we were two professionals working on a project together. So they'll send me the storyline and they may say something like, does that all sound doable for you, or are there any adjustments you think you need to make for safety or for efficiency? And when I get into those kind of conversations with people, it makes me feel really respected and it makes me feel really valued, as though they put in the effort to at least try to understand what the challenges of shooting multiple videos in a day might be. I try to do my best for everyone, but I suppose the customers who have made it really easy for me to understand what they want, I suppose I do have a slightly better chance of doing exactly the job that they're looking for, because they haven't made me feel pressurised with a whole load of extra demands. and they've made me feel like a valued colleague rather than just the provider of their fantasy. And I like that feeling. Do write a summary explaining all the important things that would happen in your storyline in chronological order. Of course, a lot of customers are not professional screenwriters, and nor do they need to be. But a lot of the time you've not contacted models before for something like this, and why would you magically know how to do it best? So as a result, people approach this in a wide variety of ways. So sometimes people will write me a whole suggested script that might go on for several pages, and I have to write back and say, I'm really sorry, I'm not going to be able to follow this. I need basically a summary of the action that needs to take place in the scene. So when you are writing one of those summaries, try to include the main things that you want to happen in the story, including what you want the model to look like and be wearing, and try to put it in chronological order, because that makes it way easier to follow, and it means the chances of me getting it right are much higher. And try, I would say, not to include actual dialogue, because we're never going to be able to learn dialogue. I can't send dialogue to my performers beforehand and expect them to learn it. We are all working on too many things to be expected to do that. So while it's absolutely fine to give us a couple of lines that you want word for word if it's something that's really important to you, sometimes the language is a really key part of what makes the story sexy for you, so I absolutely understand that. But I would always rather get a summary about what's meant to be happening and what they're meant to be talking about than word for word lines. Apart from anything else, often when you improvise, lines come out better than the ones that you can write down. This is a bit of a difficult one to talk about because, again, I've got lots of sympathy as to why people would do this, but it can be really uncomfortable, so I'm going to mention it. I have on several occasions had customers ask me for feedback on the fetish itself, or they try to role play around the subject matter in their emails. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. One customer I had a couple of years ago, he kept asking me whether I was sort of coming round to the idea of this fetish being appealing. And it was very uncomfortable because the answer was absolutely no, this isn't changing my kink, but I'm absolutely comfortable doing it, because if I wasn't comfortable, I wouldn't be doing it. And so his repeated questioning of, oh, are you feeling more comfortable now? I started to think that the only answer he wanted was for me to say, oh yeah, now I'm really into this. And it felt a little predatory, to be honest, and I have experienced that on multiple occasions. If a custom video model or producer agrees to make your custom, I think it's probably safe to assume that they're comfortable with it. I understand that sharing your fetish possibly for the first time with someone is a bit nerve-wracking, and possibly you do want to get some reassurance, but I think you should be reassured by the fact that they're making the video. I certainly turn down quite a lot of customs just because they don't appeal to me. They're not something I'd be comfortable with. For example, parental storylines. I just say no to them. So if I say yes to your idea, it's because I'm comfortable with it, and I think trying to place a demand on me that I become more and more comfortable with it until it's my sexuality, I think that's quite a unreasonable thing to ask of me. It coerces me into a situation where it's quite tempting to lie to you as well. I won't do that. I won't pretend, and I'd love it if people stopped sort of trying to trap me in a position where I have to. I've got my own sexuality, my own sexual identity, and I represent that for myself on screen as well. It's not like I'm secretive about what I'm into, so if I haven't said that I'm into diaper play, it's because I'm not into diaper play, and I might still be happy to shoot your video in whatever genre you like, but I think trying to demand that I take on your sexual identity is asking a lot, and I think it's quite discourteous because I've got my own sexual tastes. I like to be hard in the by a cruel, ruthless man with a huge while being told that I'm that I can just and then the face and have forced down my. Those are the things I like, and I've not really made a secret of it. So if I liked your fetish, I promise I'd tell you, but I'm happy shooting a whole load of things that don't represent my personal taste, because I absolutely think that those tastes should be represented. The other thing that I have experienced is people trying to turn our discussion about the custom shoot into a role play. So this is something that I experience especially when I'm booked by male doms to make female subs storylines. Now, in many ways, they are my favourite customs because it chimes with what my personal tastes are, and so those customers are very, very welcome. But sometimes they seem to get a bit confused by what it means for me to be playing a character who's submitting to their character on screen, and so sometimes they can try to slip into character when they email me, or try to ask me quite invasive questions about whether shooting it turned me on, and I really recommend not doing that to providers, because one of the things that makes me feel safe to improvise is that no one's going to ask me afterwards, oh, did that really turn you on, or were you just acting? And once I think someone's approaching watching my performances like that, it makes me a little bit inhibited, and I think I don't want to do too good a job in case they think that I'm their sub now. And when people can give me the impression they understand the boundaries, it actually makes me feel safer to push those boundaries on screen. And so if you can make me feel safe enough that I am happy to push myself to the limit of what I can do for you on screen, then I think I'm much more likely to do a really good performance for you that you'll enjoy watching over and over again. When things are going well in planning a custom video, once I've got your idea and your costume request, I tell you when I can shoot, I give you the price, and I give you payment information. And then, quite often, people completely disappear. Now, I assume that this is because for some people, just being able to explain their sexual fantasy to someone who tells them it's acceptable and says she'd shoot it is enough for them to feel comfortable and happy in their fetish, and they disappear again. And there's nothing I can do about that. All I can do is keep communications fairly short and to the point until you've actually paid, so that I don't waste too much of my time on these people who are just looking for reassurance. However, quite often my customers get as far as getting my payment details, then they disappear for 6 months, and then appear 6 months later going, oh, can you still shoot that video? The answer quite often is, no, I can't, because it's no longer the summer, or I'm no longer at that location, or I no longer have that outfit. Sometimes I can, but I have to say that once a customer's done that to me once, I'll never really trust them quite as much again, and I'll probably never prioritise them in the way I would have done before they hurt my feelings and disappeared. So I would say if you can avoid doing that to models, obviously I know life happens, this is a luxury item you're purchasing from me. I can understand how sometimes other things take over and you can't prioritise getting your sexy video from Ariel Anderson. I understand that, but the ghosting, of course, as we've all experienced, it can be quite hurtful. It makes me feel like you don't understand how many jobs I'm trying to juggle in a week. My turnover is all made up of little jobs, you know, it's £100 here, £200 there. I'm having to tessellate these things quite tightly, and when people disappear when I've already scheduled them, it's really annoying. As I have already briefly mentioned, try not to write a full screenplay when you're giving me a custom video idea. Try not to write specific dialogue, although it's absolutely fine to include a couple of important lines or the words you particularly like having said. It's absolutely fine to say something like, I really like the words bondage, bound and gagged, and I like lots of foot angles, especially from the soles of the feet. Like, that is very, very useful information. But if you send me a whole load of pictures of feet and say make it look like this, and send me 2 pages of script, the chances of you actually getting what you're looking for are kind of decreased, because it's complicated and I don't know which bits of that are the most important. Sometimes if you give me too much information, I will lose the thing that's most important to you, because in amongst the 2 pages of detail, the thing that's actually the heart of your fetish just gets lost. Whereas if you point it out to me nice and clearly and fairly briefly, like I want to see lots of shots of the soles of the feet, then that is nice and easy to implement, and I've got a good chance of doing a good job. Whereas if you send me something that's overly complex, some of the information does tend to get lost on production day. Now, this is important. It's totally fine to ask when it's going to be shot, edited and delivered. From time to time, I have seen producers and models complaining about customers asking, but honestly, if you're paying for this service and you're paying in advance, which you are, it's perfectly reasonable for you to want to know when you're going to get the video. So I give you a guaranteed shoot day, which is the same day that it gets edited, and it's the same day that it gets sent to you. Just occasionally, I then discover that my Wi-Fi, if I'm travelling, isn't up to sending it to you on the day, in which case I'll let you know, and I'll often be able to warn you beforehand that might be the case. But it's perfectly reasonable for you to know when you're going to get your video. There might be some producers who can't guarantee that, but certainly if you're contacting me for a custom, I will give you a guaranteed delivery date. However, don't pester, don't ask multiple times. You shouldn't have to, because I'll have given you a straight answer. And don't try to get me to bump you up the queue, because I take customs in the order that they come in, so I'm not going to push someone else back in order to bring your scheduled shoot forward. Also, don't expect me to shoot on the day that you first email me. Just occasionally. I think people think that the custom video service is like a webcam service and that I'm online right now about to shoot it. I really can't. I mean, sometimes I can shoot the day after someone contacts me, but to be honest, that's quite rare. A lot of the time you'd have about a week to wait before I could actually schedule you. And sometimes it's longer if I need to get camera operators and other performers. It can be up to a month. And when you send me angry emails demanding that I shoot it today, it just tells me you don't understand my job at all, and it makes me not really want to collaborate with you, to be honest. This doesn't happen a lot, but when it does happen, people sometimes can be really quite aggressive about it. I understand that I'm providing a service that people use when they're feeling sexually frustrated, and I really try to be appreciative of that, but I can't shoot on the day normally. Okay, this is another one that I think is quite important. Do give feedback. Once you've got the video, it is absolutely fine to tell me what you liked and also what you would like different in the future. Don't be afraid to explain what you'd like done differently another time. It's important for me to learn, and a lot of my long-term customers have gradually got videos out of me that are more and more and more what they want, because they've been able to communicate what they would like more of, what they'd like less of. So, for example, I have a customer who's gradually let me know that he'd really rather I wasn't talking in the video. So he started off by saying, oh, you don't need to talk quite so much. And then I gradually realised, no, actually, what you want is for me to really not be talking, which is absolutely fine. But as long as you say it courteously and professionally, it's absolutely fine. And also, I love to hear when I've done something that you do like, because that tells me for future what I should do more of. By all means, give feedback, and don't be afraid to say what you would like differently another time. And finally, it's lovely to hear that you enjoyed the video, but you do not need to tell me exactly how much you enjoyed the video. I don't need to know how hard you were, and I don't need to know when you came during the video. I'm capable of using my imagination when you say that you really, really enjoyed it, and I'm happy to leave it at that. So I hope you found that useful. I love shooting custom videos. A lot of my custom video customers have become online friends, and I think it is, or it can be, a really great way to express your sexual tastes. I get a lot out of doing this, not just money. It's been such a privilege to have people sharing their secrets with me, and it's lovely to feel trusted as a professional to try to bring your sexual tastes to life. I appreciate it's quite an expensive thing to have done, and I try to treat your fantasies and you with respect. And basically, if you can do the same for me, you'll be one of my favourite customers. So thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I will be back next month with a video I'm so excited about making. I'm going to start working on it this afternoon. Hooray! If you want to order your own custom video, you can email me on the email below, kinkyarielanderson@gmail.com, or I've got a website, which is askarielstudio.com. Thank you, as always, for joining me, and now I'm going to go and eat a piece of apricot, vanilla and chocolate cake that I made last night. Thanks for listening, bye.